God bless you. Welcome to another Growing in Grace podcast. We're glad that you're with us, and we'd like for you to tell your neighbors, your friends, and even if you have an enemy, well, you ought to try to make them a friend too. So let them know about this Growing in Grace podcast. We'd like for you to like, share, and subscribe to the Growing in Grace podcast. And we're glad that you're with us today, and we have a special guest today, Sister Jennie Reynolds, the wife of one of our friends and co-laborers, Elder Reynolds. And we are glad that you're with us today. And you have a unique experience. You were a military wife. So, of course, you're a pastor's wife now, but you were a military wife, and you traveled with your husband to different places. And so we kind of want to talk a little bit with you about your experience traveling with your husband. And in fact, I think in a previous season, I talked with your husband about being a godly military man. And so you got that other side, the wife, in that relationship. So can you tell me a little bit about being the wife to Elder Reynolds? Or what was your title? He's in the house, so I'll speak to him. He's not on the camera, but were you a sergeant? Were you sergeant first class? Sergeant first class. So tell us a little bit what that was like to be in the military with Sergeant First Class Reynolds.
Well, it was difficult. It was experience that I think that if I could think about it now, I didn't even know that I had all that in me to go through everything that I had to go through. Not that it was really bad, but because my first experience, alone with him, I got there and like 2 weeks later he left. And I was like, I'm in a country. I was in Germany. I'm in a country. I know nobody. Nobody knows me. I
Mm-hmm.
have 2 weeks to learn how to drive in Germany. I have 2 weeks to learn, the basic language and 200 question test to pass the drive. So I had the choice of staying there or going back home with family, friends. And the sergeant major that lived downstairs, she said, just try it. Just try it on your own. It'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a success, but I was afraid. I was afraid but then I realized that because I stayed, I had total contact with him. If I would have came back to Georgia,
Uh-huh.
it would have been harder for me to
Communicate with him.
communicate with them. And and I had a son, and so I had to suck it up and
Uh-huh.
be a soldier wife. And that was, and I think it was a good experience for me because it helped me not only naturally but spiritually,
I can see.
because I had to learn how to trust God and
Ah.
depend on God. So I told my son, it's me, you, and God,
Uh-huh.
so we can do this. And I think we did pretty good because he was only gone 37 days, and in that 37 days, I unpacked all the household goods. I got a job.
Uh-huh.
I learned different
In
parts of
Germany.
Germany. Yes,
Ah.
I learned different parts in Germany, and I had a lot of soldier friends because at that time when he left, it was a war.
Mm-hmm.
So our housing area was guarded, and so every day we left home, that you had to get out your car. They had to check your car for a bomb.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? But and also spiritually, he
Uh-huh.
left me, with, we hadn't really found a church yet.
Yes.
So I had to trust God, and, I wasn't going to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
went to church.
Uh-huh.
And I knew I thank God for Bishop Bryant Sr. because he taught me the Word of God.
Yes.
And well, at that time it was Ella Bryant Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew what to eat and what not to eat.
Uh-huh.
And so that helped me a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, you know, that was my start in as a military wife, and then I got involved in as a military wife. I got involved in army activities and got my son involved, and I became a military spouse for real because he was a sergeant. That means that put a lot of responsibility on me to take care of the younger soldier wives.
I see.
So I just got involved with that. It to me it was almost like getting involved with the sisters in church
Yes.
and just helping out the young sisters in church, just to help the young soldier wives. So it was like a role that I was already playing. I just had to do it on the natural side, and not the spiritual side. But I really think I did it on the spiritual side too, because I was different.
Uh-huh.
Because there was nobody there that believed like I would believe. There was no female I knew in the church that was wearing dresses all the time.
Uh-huh.
Nobody was wearing hats. So I had to learn how to be different.
Yes, well, you were different, but you had to really be in that environment where you was like the only one.
Only one.
Uh-huh.
If it was an oddball, I guess I
That
was.
was you.
But you know what? I thought I was, but God is so good.
Yes.
He blessed that. At first at church wise in the military, when my husband came back, he became the pastor, and so I got more involved in the activities, and so they made a rule that you couldn't wear a hat if you sang in the choir.
That's what they said.
Yes, and
Uh-huh.
I said, well, I guess I won't be singing in the choir, and they was like, no, we want you to sing. I said, well, I can't lower my standards just to sing in the choir. I could sing in the audience and just and be okay. And they said, no, you can wear your hat. So they allowed me to wear my hat, and then a lot of more sisters decided they wanted to wear a hat. And one sister, she called her sister in the States, and she sent a book so we could order discounted hats from the States and get them shipped to Germany for us. So God still blessed me, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So
And
tell us a little about the hats.
eh,
Why did you want to wear a hat?
why I want to wear a hat? Well, the reason why I want to wear a hat because I was taught that I'm being submissive to my husband, and so I was not going to just because I was in Germany
Uh-huh.
be just let what I was taught go because I believe what they taught me.
Yes.
And so when I got married, I was an independent woman. I have to, I was. It didn't like came overnight. Like I
Yeah.
was an independent woman, but I wanted to live right.
Yes.
And so when the mothers, taught us about being submissive to our husband, I had to learn how to do it. It didn't just automatically come, but because I wanted to live right, and I actually prayed and asked God to help me be the wife that I needed to be a support, not only for be a soldier wife, but be a minister wife. And
Yes.
at that time, I think when we first started out, he was a deacon,
Yes.
and then he got into ministry, and so I had good examples. I had
Yes.
good example at home, but I was off, but I had good examples, so I knew the basic line of what I needed to do.
Yes,
So
yes. And I just for the record, I want our listeners to know, the significance of the hat
yeah,
in the
yeah,
church and in the house of worship, in the house of prayer, for the woman.
yes,
And the Bible does teach that that to pray and to
Okay,
prophesy, the woman should have her head covered. And so that's why you wanted
yeah,
to obey
yeah,
that, and that's in
yes,
Corinthians 11
yeah,
chapter for somebody that want to
right,
know, because we're talking, but
yeah,
our listeners may need to
yeah,
know what the
exactly,
significance of that
yeah,
and how you were actually impacting the people in Germany with holiness.
yes,
While they had a form of godliness, but they didn't have the standard of holiness. And
exactly.
when you got there, holiness was in you, so you had to take it with you.
Yes, yes, and even the little things. I remember one time I was getting ready for church, and I had a split in the back of my skirt,
Uh-huh.
and I looked in the mirror and I said, "Oh my God, I can't wear this skirt unless I sew it." And my husband said, he said, babe, it's just a small split. I said, no, that's not what Mother Pullen taught me. Mother
Uh-huh.
Pullen say if you got a split in your skirt, you need to close it up because you'll see your undergarments, even if it's a slip.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, even though she's not in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
she taught me the right thing, and so we took a little longer to get to church because I had to sew my skirt.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
just because he was in, and just before I left with him to go to the military, one of my cousins, she told me, she said, when you come back with your husband, still be saved.
Uh-huh.
And that stuck with me
Uh-huh.
so much. So I scribed hard as I could to continue to live right, continue. I had the teaching in me, so I just had to trust God that I could live it
Yes.
without being around all the people that I grew up with in the church and all.
That's right, and that's one thing I think that sometimes people need to really know and understand that when God is in you,
Yes.
He don't leave you. Doesn't matter where you
Leave you.
go. If He's in you, He's with you. He even told His disciples, He said, "I'm with you always,
Always.
even to the end of the world."
Yes.
And so when He's with you, you're in Germany, He's there.
Yes.
Wherever you go, He's there. He's
Yes.
with you. And so it sounds like you was having a blessed beginning to your journey, but
Yes.
challenging,
Yes.
but challenging.
Yes.
And so you spoke about being submissive to your husband, and I know that some wives have, whether military or not military, they have an issue with that. They have an issue with that. Now, you were taught before you got married. Before you got married, how long had you been in the church before you got married?
About 5 years.
About 5 years. About 5 years. So that's long enough to learn something. so, so you have been taught about marriage before you got married, right? And you
Yes.
have been taught about your role as a wife. And you mentioned Mother Pullen
Yes.
and Mother Bryant
Right.
probably did
Yes.
some teaching. And so with that, they taught you about being submissive, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, but now you get married. Did you have to learn something about that?
Yes, I had because I stated before I was independent.
Yes.
So
It's kind of strong minded.
yes.
And I heard when you said that, I heard your husband, he breathed a certain way. like he was saying amen.
Yeah. Because I even when he went to Korea and I kept my job and I was like, oh no, you don't have to send me no money. I got it. I'm used to paying my own bills. I'm good. And he was like, no, we're married now. And I was like, oh God, what is I got him up into?
'Cause I want to pay my own
Help it up.
stuff.
Yeah, and so I just had to learn basically, and I can say this for my husband is a really good guy. I have to give him a lot of credit because he makes it easy for me to be submissive to him. He's everybody say I'm spoiled, but he's just a good person. If anybody know him, if even if you're his friend, he's a good person. So he doesn't believe in like arguing and going back and forth. He will say what he thinks, and that's it. We're not gonna spend all night talking about it or anything. So that part helped me. It made it easy for me to be submissive to him because he was, he treated me right. He made sure that I was taken care of first. And when we had our son, we were first. No matter what happens, he made sure we was taken care of. He made sure that everything was all right with me. Even now, even if I just look like I don't feel good at first, he says, "You all right? You everything okay? What do I need to get you anything?" I said, "No, I'm good." But and what that what makes me want to be submissive to him because of how he treats me.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to come back to this a little bit, but I do want to remark about that other side because we're talking to you as a wife. Now, that is so true that sometimes I do want to say this that some men don't know how to exercise their authority as the head, and it does make the wife it makes it harder for her to submit to the head that's not behaving properly. And so when the man does behave like he's supposed to, it makes it easier for the wife when he honors her as the weaker vessel, and when he cherishes her and does all those things, it makes it easier. But now again, you coming from an independent position, you had to make some adjustments to come to that position of submission. And so can you tell me a little bit about that journey that to where you actually kind of learned that? I'm going to share with you another thing too. So you're not alone.
Okay.
I was a minister when I got married. I was at the beginning of ministry when I got married. I got married at 19, and I started ministering about that age as well. And so, yeah, as a minister, you know some scriptures, you know, you know some Bible. Oh, you can talk about what the Bible says,
Says.
but it's different when you got to do it. Like, so you know what the Bible said about a husband, about a wife, but when you become one, now it's learning time.
And
It,
and I think also I think the military helped us in that area because of being apart. So when we got together, we cherished the time that we had together. And I think the military kind of made that road a little easier for us because there was some times that I had to take on the road as, you know, being in charge of the home because he was gone. But when he came back, I was glad
so you was glad to turn it
turn
back
it
over. Here
over.
you go,
Look,
baby.
listen, when he came in, when he called and said, "Hey, I'm coming Tuesday," I was telling my son, "Hey, count down." We were marking the calendar. Count down. Your daddy coming back, and he's in charge. I'm done. So it was. I think the military helped me, and
I see.
because it was just us, it was just our family, and so we did everything together. So we made decisions together, and a lot of times I had to make decisions, and he wasn't there. But if I could contact him, I would contact him and say, "Hey, what do you think?" And but he said, "Babe, if I'm not there, you have to make these decisions. But if I'm there, you don't have to worry because I got it." So I think that part helped us a lot and helped me because when I had to be in charge, I was in charge. And when I didn't have to be in charge, I didn't. So that kind of helped me work with him a little bit, much better.
And so you appreciated his role
Yeah, because
because you had to step in it at
right.
times, and it's like, well,
It
I,
made me see, hey, if he's not here, what if he's not here? Because every time he deployed, there was a chance that he wouldn't return. So I had to, those kind of things were in my mind. So when he came back, I cherished every moment that we, had together. So I didn't have time for,
yeah,
trying to be difficult, I could
yeah,
say.
I
But I
understand.
still,
Yeah,
now he can always say, I'm still independent because I still will voice my opinion, whether
yes,
he agree with it or not. But I always told him, I want to voice my opinion because I don't want to, you just make the decision and I have an opinion and I'm holding something against you because didn't allow me to speak. Whether you go with what I say or but I want to be able to speak to you freely.
yes.
That's the kind of relationship I want. I don't want to be able to be afraid of you to say, no, babe, I don't think we should do that, or no, that's not a good. I want to be able to do that. But those are some things that my husband and I discussed
Yes.
before we got married.
Right.
We made, we
You
made
laid the
some
ground.
ground rules before we got married. So
Yes.
we wasn't walking in this thing blindly, and we took teaching. Our bishop taught on marriage a lot, and so we kind of discussed things even when he we say, you know what the Bible, because my husband did try to, so I say, you know what the Bible say? The Bible say this and this and that. And I said, yes, I know what the Bible say, but what else do the Bible say? Let's finish the chapter. So we had both had teaching from the same person.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
I think that's what helped us, because we had the same teaching from the same person, and we would discuss things with, that he discussed, to make sure that both of us understood.
Yes. Yes.
All this was done before we even got married.
That's wonderful.
So those are kind of things that we did as a a couple.
Yes, yes. And I would say this too, that it is wonderful when when the husband does very cherish the wife, and allows that open discussion and dialogue. And it is a blessing when a wife actually has a mind and an ability to speak, because I think that we would be in a very bad position without women. I really
Yes.
believe that. I
Yes.
believe we'll be in a very bad position without women, and I even tell my wife this, that um, don't have thoughts and ideas, and then I go down a path and you never shared with me what you was thinking.
Mm.
It's not that I necessarily got to do what you say,
Right.
but you can help me in my thinking. And that's the role of a wife. A wife's supposed to be a helpmeet to the husband. And so what do she help with? She can help with thinking and decision making
Yes.
and different other things. But you have to be willing to weigh in.
Yeah.
And so that's a blessing that, you was able to do that with your husband, and y'all had that relationship there where he would value what you say, and you can get your voice out. And I share this other point for everyone. There was a time in the scripture where Abraham and Sarah had a situation. One time he listened to his wife, he probably shouldn't have. Another time he didn't want to listen, and the Lord told him, hearken to the voice of your wife. You're aware of that.
Yes. Hmm.
But I just put it on the record. Sarah was barren, and so she offered up Haggai, her bondmaid, to Abraham. And when she offered him up to Abraham to wife and be with her so that she can have children by a bondmaid, well, Abraham didn't balk at that. He didn't balk at that. But he had this son, and after he had the son Isaac, not Isaac, I'm sorry, Ishmael,
Ishmael.
had Ishmael, and then when Sarah finally did have a son, Isaac, and when Isaac was being weaned, Ishmael was mocking that situation, and Sarah says, "He's not going to be heir with my son. You got to send him out." Abraham's like, "That's my son. He's my son too." He said, "No, he's not going to be heir with my son." And the Lord revealed to him, hearken to the voice of your wife. She's right in this. And so it's good to have those wife voices. I just wanted to put that on the record, that even God agreed with Sarah and told Abraham to hearken to the voice of his wife. And so, go ahead.
Oh, I think one thing I meant to say earlier, one of one of the worst times I had in the military was I was on the phone with one of the soldiers' wife, and she called me and she said my husband, who was deployed with my husband, said that the building that they were in just was attacked.
Uh-huh.
And I was on the phone with her, and she said, "So your husband?" She was telling me my husband was in a building that just exploded, and I got off the phone with her, and I had to tell the friends that were there, and my son was like 5, and so I was telling them, and they said, so my son said, "Is my dad gonna die?" And I said, "No, he's not going to die." I said, "I don't believe it." I said, so this was the first time, you know how you always hear people say, go in the secret closet?
Uh-huh.
This is the first time I think I ever went there,
Uh-huh.
at that time. And I went in the bedroom, and I asked God. I said, God, you brought me here. I
Uh-huh.
stayed. I done went through all this, and I don't believe that you're gonna take my husband. I don't even believe that the building that he's in is it, whatever happened is not his building. I said, I don't know why she told me that. I said, but I'm gonna trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my son, he was my little son. He was crying.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you dry up those tears. We're gonna trust God. And now I think about an hour later, the sergeant that was in charge that was connecting, always communicated between the family and the soldiers. She called me and she said there was an explosion, but your husband's okay.
Uh-huh.
And I at that time I said this is one time that I wish that I was with all the church, my church family.
Uh-huh.
But God let me know, and I just the other day when I thought about the subject, I thought about that. I said God was teaching me how to trust Him
Mm-hmm.
when nobody else is around. When you only have to depend on me,
Yes.
and at that time I had to depend on God and know that God is real and know that He can answer. Because I at that when at first I was so used to calling Bishop Bryant
Yeah.
for prayer.
Uh-huh.
If I was home, I would have just dialed him
Bishop,
up.
hey, I
Bishop, I
need
need your
prayer.
prayer. I need
Yeah.
prayer. But it was all on me.
Yes,
It was
yes,
all on
yes.
me, and you know, and that was I think another growing part for me,
Yes.
even as a military wife, because that's exactly like a couple of weeks after that, I got more involved in what the spouses did,
Uh-huh.
and when they deployed, I would know what's going on more,
Mm-hmm.
So that helped me naturally and spiritually.
Yes, yes,
So
yes. So, and what do you think about people who are in a fellowship or in churches? Uh, like you're saying, you were benefited because you didn't have everybody to lean on. Do you think that sometimes now that people may lean on other people more than they probably should,
yes,
and not lean on
no
God
God,
as much as they should because that person is right there,
right there.
and they're not leaning on God and trusting God as much because they can go here, they can go there. Do you think that's happening?
Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that is happening,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times some people ask me, I say just trust God. I said go to God in prayer, and I was like, oh, I'm asking you to pray. I said, but you need to pray because you
Yes.
have to have that own personal relationship with God yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where when we left home, that was what God was teaching us,
Yes.
and that's how I tell everybody that's what started my really started my salvation journey.
Mm-hmm.
Even because I was home, I was saved, I
Uh-huh.
was safe,
Uh-huh.
And but now I'm out among the wolves, I would say, because the preacher wasn't preaching like our preachers.
Mm-hmm.
The church wasn't
So
like
you weren't
our
even
church.
being spiritually fed like you would have
Well,
normally been
yes,
fed. Yes.
right. And some of our friends they wasn't going to church. Well, people we met because they were their church was sending them tapes,
Yes.
and they were staying home and listening to tape. I wasn't that kind of people. I need fellowship. I need to see
Mm-hmm.
people, feel people. So
Mm-hmm.
I went there, but I knew what to eat, and so then I start being over the women,
Mm-hmm.
sisterhood,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the choir, helping out in the community. So then I got to share um, our beliefs, which were came from the Bible. So it
Uh-huh.
wasn't because that was a rule. You couldn't talk about or teach anything without it being
In scripture.
scriptural.
Okay.
So when I talk to the sisters and I
So I
tell
can
them
live with
about,
that.
yeah, I told them about being submissive to your husband
Uh-huh.
and wives, about love your children. When I talked about that and that, I was in regulations,
Yeah, yeah.
but God allowed us to, help other people. One of my friends, and she calls me Nana now because she was saved, but they believed in wearing pants and all. And I talked to her about it and all, and I said, I'm not going to make you do anything. I said, but only thing I can tell you to do is just I say I'll be an example for you. I
Hmm.
said that's all I can be. I said I will give you the scripture. I said and I can show you and I said you can talk. She called my husband now Papa. You can talk to him
Hmm.
and he can explain it better to you and all like that. And she stopped wearing pants and everything. And she, she her whole life changed. And she tell everybody, I didn't get saved until I met, met us. But we just gave her what we was taught. And
Hmm.
my husband and I, we always talk about. We think he joined the army for the military, but really it was for God to take us different places, Italy and all those places that God he always allowed us to share what
And get in ministry, some form of
yes
ministry.
and to
Yes.
help other people.
Yes.
It always even with me dealing with the military wives and everything, I still had to hold up my standards,
Yes.
and I think that's what impressed people more was the standard because I didn't change. I
Yes.
did. I mean, if somebody we met someone that knew me in Springfield
Hmm.
and they were over no they were in Virginia
Hmm.
and I did something for them. I helped them when I worked at the tax office in Georgia. And so when we got in Virginia to Fort Lee, at that time when we first got there, we didn't have anywhere to stay. And he saw me and my husband to the PX, and he said, "Excuse me, aren't you I don't think he knew my name. I think he said, "Aren't you the lady at the tax office in Springfield?" I said, "Yeah." He said, you helped me." And he asked us what we were doing here, and I said, "My husband is in the military. We just got here." And he said, "Hey, look, I got the hookup for you. Don't worry." And he took us to Miss Hall, and that was the lady that, and we got housing that same day.
Hmm.
Everything just went on, and I told my husband, I said, that's why don't matter. You don't know where you gonna see somebody at, so you got to live right at all times and be the
Hmm.
same person that you was if you're in Georgia, if you're in Virginia, Germany, Italy. You got to hold up them same
That's
standards
right.
because you never know who you might see.
That's right. That's right.
So
And then another thing, like you said, be kind to people.
yes,
Be kind, because you never know when you might need a
you
favor.
favor, yes.
And so it sounds like you help with housing.
So
So
yeah,
that's a blessing. That's a
yes,
blessing. And so your journey has helped you in your spiritual life.
life, yes,
The
yes,
military journey. I know I've heard some of the testimonies from Elder Reynolds, but it sounds like it was helping you in your journey, and even it probably blessed your son too, because
yes,
he's Deacon Reynolds now.
yeah,
You
yes.
know, so
Yes, because because we were a family, we stayed together. We did
yes.
everything together as a family. When my husband and I anniversary came, our friends said, "Oh, y'all want to leave your son?" We said, "Nope, we're
Hmm.
taking him. We're a family. We're taking him with the because my son was young, and I guess I was a protective mother. I
Uh-huh.
just couldn't leave my child, so I took him everywhere. And we had little Bible studies. My husband still had Bible study with us at home,
Yes.
and so because at one time he wasn't teaching the Bible study, so and they had separate Bible study for kids. So my son was coming to church with like 5 different Bibles. He had this big case, and I was like, "Son, why?" He said, "Because I don't know what version of the Bible they gonna come out of. Daddy always do the King James, but they have other Bibles, and I can't follow along if I don't know what kind of Bible they going. I need to
Hmm.
see the words." So and I was like, I thought it was funny, but then I thought about it. I said, that's so true because if he used the King James, that's not going to say the same words.
Hmm.
I said, well, son, I guess that's smart to
Hmm.
take every version of the Bible. So when they tell you what version they coming from, you'll get to say. He said, yeah, because Daddy only used this one, but they use a whole lot of them. I said, well, we just gonna stay with the King James. Don't worry about it.
Hmm.
But those are different things that I had to teach my son, and I always have to tell him, son, we going to church. He was like, Dad is not here. I said, well, we still going to church. Don't
Hmm.
Dad is not here, but we are going to church. And so, you know, I just I had to pray and keep the standard because my husband was leaving and my son was becoming a teenage young man.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
you know, sometimes teenage young man and their dad not there, they might
Uh-huh.
he might want to lose his mind. But
Uh-huh.
because we had a really good relationship
Mm-hmm.
and he knew our standards, I didn't have to worry about it. I just told him, bring your friends over to our house. I
Mm-hmm.
will cook for them. Y'all can play games at our house. And
So
so,
you kind of kept the control,
yes,
and so you didn't. You kind of tried to control the environment,
yes.
and which is smart, which is smart.
Yes, so everybody came, and even when my husband came back, he was like, "Why is all these
Why all
boys
these
here?"
folks?
I said, "I
They did
said,
the hangout spot.
yes," and they came for breakfast. Even when school started, all came over for breakfast and everything. But I told them, this is how we can keep our son from all over the place in a foreign country. So
Yes,
this is what
yes,
I have to do, and it
yes.
it worked. It
That's
worked.
wonderful. And I heard about your cooking. I understand that y'all had Bible study at one time where you were doing cooking.
And that was here though.
Oh,
That was
that was here.
here.
Okay,
Yes, that was
okay, that was
actually
here. Yeah,
that was
I
here.
understand it was really filling out. It was filling
Flowing.
out, and but when you stopped there cooking, but
Exactly.
it was working for you. That was where was that? Where you was doing that? Where he was turning a teenager? What country were you in then?
We were in we was in part in Italy, and then we came back to the States for about a year. Then we went back to Germany.
Germany. Okay.
So it was basically, I think, more in Italy. I think
Yes.
more in Italy.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very
yes.
good. And so you work with the military wives, and now, do you believe that that experience, you had the spiritual journey there, and then working with the military wives, do you feel like that helped you to be a better sister in the church?
Yes, because women are women. You may
Yeah.
say or unsay.
Uh-huh.
Everybody and all of us have different personalities. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to learn how to deal with everybody on their level, on
Mm-hmm.
their personality level.
Yes.
And that is in the military
Mm-hmm.
wise and in the church.
Yes.
Because you just like a mother raising children, you can't treat everybody the same.
It's true.
You have to learn
I'm glad
some.
you said that. I'm glad you said it because sometimes people, I think people mean well,
Mhm.
but you can't treat everybody the same.
Can't.
You're going to treat somebody wrong if you
Right.
do that.
Yeah,
You got to
exactly.
treat everybody right.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. Because some need more attention than others.
Yes.
And we have to realize, and I think having the discernment to
Mm-hmm.
know, and you got to work in your area.
Yes.
If everybody can work with the sister, but some people have the gift, or I would say discernment, how to really reach other people.
Yes.
And then you got to learn how to feel somebody. When
Mm-hmm.
somebody's talking to you, you got to learn how to, feel them. You got to
Mm-hmm.
feel if they're hurting. You got to feel that. You
Yes.
got to be able to feel that. You just can't tell them, "Oh, child, that'll be okay.
Uh-uh.
You'll be all right. It's all right." No, you got to be able to feel it.
Yeah,
And
empathize and come
yes,
along with
with
them.
them,
Yes.
and that only comes from God.
Yes.
That God will give you that. And if you are not experiencing that area, like I'll say, I had a friend in overseas, and she had married. When she married her husband, he wasn't saved,
Mm-hmm.
and then he got saved. Okay, I wasn't experiencing that because when I married my husband,
Mm-hmm.
he was saved.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn and ask God, how do I help her?
Mm-hmm.
And what God did was He put somebody else in our path that husband wasn't saved when they first got married, and she was saved and all, and that helped us um, help her
Yes.
because I think one thing about it, when I first got to Germany, I was there 3 weeks. No, I think the second time I was there about 3 weeks, and the sisterhood was going to England.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know anybody. And the mother of the church, she came and asked me, "Could you go on this trip with us? Because there's a sister I want to be in your room because I think you can help her. She said, because I think you're a good example. She just got saved, and I think you are a good example for her. And I came home and told my husband, she don't know me. She don't know. I just been coming to church. She don't know me like that. How she know I can help her? He said, because sometimes people just look at you and say, hey, I think that person me. And me and the young lady, we became really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, my husband was able to help her husband because her family was breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
But because they came and we took them under our wing, they marriage been together and all because, I told her your husband got to be your friend.
Mm-hmm.
He got to be your best friend.
Yeah.
You
I
got to
like that.
he got
Yeah.
to be number one.
Yes.
You got to take care of your children, but your husband got to be number one. You got to take care of him.
I agree.
Yeah, I say so. You got there's some things, and don't just I tell her don't just complain all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Some things I tell her all the time. Some things my husband do, I might don't like it. I said, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't even. I don't say he right now. He don't even know. We've been married about 38 years. He don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
I said because I know he do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I just said, Lord, this help me. Because I don't want to be no big make it's so little. It's not nothing to make a big
Yes.
deal out of.
That's right.
We can still be married and happy with whatever.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
you just I guess you say you pick your fights or whatever.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Exactly. Um, what do we call you? Do we call you Sister Jennie Reynolds? What do we
no,
call you?
they call me Mother.
I thought so. I thought so. As you got to talk, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. She sounds like a mother.
It does,
I didn't know that we was calling you
but I'm
mother.
still a sister no
Yeah,
matter
I
what.
get it. I get it. But what you are sharing with us today, that it's in me to say that this is Mother Reynolds. This is
Well,
not
thank you.
Sister Reynolds. This is Mother Reynolds.
Yeah.
Because how you're talking out of experience, and you have an ability to teach the young women how to love their husband, how to love their children, how to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, obedient to their husband. You have that experience that you can teach. You got a wealth of it, and then you've traveled and you've seen things, and so you have a wealth of experience to teach out of. And so I just see you as Mother Reynolds now.
Okay, thank
I didn't
you.
even know it, but I can see it now. Good job. So I appreciate what you're sharing with us today. What would you like for some of the young women to know about marriage? They're just getting involved. They're just getting married. They're maybe 2 or 3 years in. You've got 38 years in, right?
Yes.
38 years in. And what would you like for young married women to know?
Um, Keep others out of your business, out of your
You old
marriage.
school, ain't you?
Yeah. I mean, you love your moms, you love maybe your dad, your friends, but it's you and your husband.
Mhm.
You keep everyone out of your business. Yes, I might tell you, girl, I won't take that, but it ain't happened to me yet. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to so, and talk to each other.
Mhm.
Don't talk at each other.
Mhm.
Talk to each other, and like I said, let you be each other best friend
Mhm.
and love each other. Love covers a lot. Love
Yeah.
show love for each other and help each other out. Where one is maybe you're good at one thing and he's good at another. Okay, y'all put that together and y'all be good at both of y'all will be good at each other thing. Because like folks always laugh at my husband and I because I love sports. I'm sports all I look at all sports.
Uh-huh.
My husband only look at football and basketball,
Mhm.
but I look at all sports. I love sports. But my husband will sit there because right now the U.S. Open on and I got the television always on tennis but he'll sit there and watch tennis. I know he's not all the time
Mhm.
want to see tennis,
Mhm.
but sometimes I tell him, I'll say, "Oh, I'll go upstairs. You can stay down." He'll say, "No, no, no, don't go. Stay. You can watch it." And then we compromise. That's what I say.
Yes, yes.
Compromise and for the other person.
Yes.
Always don't be me, 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 me.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's not me, me, me. It's us now.
That's right.
So, and I guess that's, you know, and stay in church.
Yes.
Listen to the word. Don't get offended by when the word come. If the word say something about marriage, and and you in it, just be higher the next time it
Yeah,
come.
yeah. If it hits you,
Yeah,
yeah,
just get
yeah.
higher, because that's not that the preacher know about your business or anything. It's That's just God trying to
Yes.
speak to you. And everybody want to say, "Oh, I ain't heard from God." Yes, you do. When the man of God is speaking, he's
He's
speaking to
telling
you.
you
He's
something.
telling you
Was that God trying to tell you
this,
something?
something, right? And you know what I'm saying. So that's what young marriages is. And my main thing is stay saved and stay together and love each other.
Yes.
And it'll work through the hardest. You know, I tell you, God put us in, like, separated us from all
Yes.
family,
Yes.
miles and miles, miles, and
Yes.
it was expensive at that time to go back home. So it wasn't not like I could get on
Uh-huh.
the phone and mama,
So you had
mama,
to stay over there in
okay, right,
Germany and
yeah, yeah,
Italy and
stick
different
it
other
out.
places.
But
Yeah.
like I said, God just made our relationship better, it's stronger.
That's wonderful. I want to just flesh out a little bit about this best friend thing. I've been teaching that, and I say that the Bible doesn't say that
That,
that your husband or your wife has to be your best friend. The Bible don't
that's
say
it.
that, right? But it did say that you two become one
One
flesh.
place.
And what it seems like it's going to be a little difficult to be one with a person that you can't even be friendly with. And my suggestion is that even though the Bible don't say that, I suggest that a man and a wife be best friends to each other. Be best friends. And if you don't have that best friend relationship with each other, you need some work. You need to work on that. You need to work
Exactly,
on that.
exactly.
So can you speak on developing that best friend relationship with your spouse, with your husband?
Well, I don't keep secrets. I don't think he keep many secrets from us, and we and basically and if somebody I tell somebody, please don't tell me anything if you're asking me not to tell my husband. I'm sorry. Don't tell me that, because I
So
don't
just
want
be
to keep.
upfront with them.
Yeah, yeah. So and I said, and I think, and the being the best friend, you're always there for them. And my husband will tell you that he always say, babe, you always be on the opposite side of me. I said, because I want you to see the other side. I want to be truthful to you. So I want you to see what others might think or might say, so you'll have the whole picture of whatever the situation is. So you'll know how to handle it. I don't want to take you up for you just because you're my husband. I wanted to tell you the truth. If I think you're wrong, I'm gonna tell you, babe, you was wrong. You could have did that better. You could have said that better, or whatever. And I want him to do the same to me,
Yes.
so we can be honest, totally honest with each other. And I think we are, because we can almost finish each other's sentences. And then sometimes I say something. He said, "Babe, I was about to tell you that." I said, "I know." I mean, but that because we built that relationship together, and we depend on each other. We depend on each other, and we look out, for each other. We even when my husband is preaching, I'm checking him out, making sure everything's right with him. If I can't hear him, if I'm sitting closer and I can't hear him, I touch him in his ear. I said, I can't hear you, so I know the people in the back can't hear. I let him
You
know.
looking out for him.
Yeah, I look out for him, and I think he does that. Even with me. And I remember one time, he was we was in Germany, and they, the man was teaching Bible study, and I'm the only one in a hat, and oh, women don't have to wear hats. They made a big deal, and I knew my husband was gonna try to
He's
defend me.
finna,
I
it's
knew.
finna be a
I was
fight.
like, he's finna, he's gonna use the scripture, but he's gonna. And I caught his hand. I said, don't worry about it, babe. I'm good. He's like, but I said, I am good. I said, because I know why I'm wearing this hat, and I'm proud to wear it. and nothing that he say can hurt my feelings. My feelings are not hurt. You don't have to protect me. I'm good. And he still gave a comment in the Bible study, but it
But not
wasn't.
as spirited
It
as
was
he was
more,
probably planning on.
right. It was more loving
Yeah.
than what I think he was going to do from the beginning. So that that's what I'll just tell young couples and spend time together. You don't have
Yeah.
to go out to eat. You can, if you got kids, put them in their bed early and tell the wife, if you are stay home wife,
Uh-huh.
please look. I mean, you don't have to put on your Sunday best, but put on something best.
Uh-huh.
Some look good. I mean, put your hair, whatever. Look your best. When he comes, smell good, and all. I tell everybody when my husband was even gone, and I used to spray my favorite perfume on his letters and send them. So when he opened it up,
Uh-huh.
the only thing he could do is smell Jennie.
Uh-huh.
So that just do little things. I
Yeah.
mean, just do little things. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but
Yes.
you trying to build your relationship, and build your family relationship because it all will work out. And telling the men, help her out with the kids. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because a lot of times if you're a stay-home mom all day with kids, you stress.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? So just give her an hour, a time. My husband, that was his rule. And when both of us worked, when we came home, everybody had an hour downtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody had an hour downtime, and then we go do whatever we got to do, and whoever got home first also had to cook.
Yeah.
My husband declared I had worked further than he did, but he declared that I went to the store and stayed out longer so he could cook. But that it wasn't like that. I did have to stop to the store, but just do things to help each other out. I
Right.
think
Right.
that would help any relationship. That somebody know that I got somebody helping me out, somebody
Yes.
backing me up, and if even to stand up for them when somebody, because I know that if somebody tried to be rude to me or something, I know that my husband will stand up for me. I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about saying, "Oh, well, he ain't gonna do nothing. He's just gonna let him talk to me," and I know that's not true. But and he's gonna still be saved, but he's gonna still stand up, for me, and
Right.
so I know that.
Right. Right. Well, let me ask you another question. You were benefited and blessed. From the conversation I'm listening to now, I can tell that the military and you having to get away from everybody blessed your marriage and your friendship with your husband. What can you say to somebody that's not doesn't have that benefit, and they still right there? Okay, they live right here. Mom and them live over here. Auntie them live over there, and they can't get away like y'all was able. I can see the benefit to that. I really can. What God did for your marriage and your family because y'all did have to rely on each other and God, and you didn't have all of that family support or even family, in your business. They
Business.
couldn't be in it as
That's
much
it.
as they could have if you was just like mom and them live over here and y'all live right here, uncle and them live. But you got some families that are in that situation where they live down the street or in the same community or their proximity to all the family and they're just right there with everybody. So how can they, what advice could you give to say, okay, look, this is how you do this, even though you're in the midst of all this community, how are you going to really build your family relationship, family dynamic, and your dependence upon God? What can you tell our young women about that?
First, you can say we love everybody,
Uh-huh.
but and we have to be honest with our family, and as a couple, you have to decide that you don't want family. We want family to be a part of our life, but we don't want a family to run our lives, and so we have, as a couple, we have to decide that, and then once we decide and agree on that as a couple, then we let our family know, okay, this is as far as you can go in our relationship. And even if we disagree on something, let us work it out. We don't need, you know, one on this side, my family taking up for me, his family taking up for him, and now we got a big mess because. And then me and him decided to do something totally opposite than what they even said. So alone and that's what we have to. That's when building the best friend thing come in because you got to know how to keep other people out. No, none of my family can come and talk about about my husband to me because my husband don't even have to know because I'm gonna fix that from the beginning, and I feel that he will do the same for me. You're not gonna come talk negative about my husband to me. We're not going to have that. But when we allow that to happen, when family think they got a little thing, then you causing habit in your in your marriage. Even with rearing your children, you have to establish this is how we're going to rear our children, and outside people might have their opinion, but this is the way we gonna do it. Even when we came home with our son, there's certain things that we didn't allow our son to do. So we told him when you get around with all your other cousins, everybody don't go to church and all like us. Don't come ask us, can you do this, this, and that? Because we're going to say no. And so if you don't want your feeling hurt, get embarrassed, don't ask us because we are going to say no. So my son, he knew what to say. He would say no, I'm good. He know what to tell his friends or his cousin that's my parents are not going to go for that.
So you set your boundaries.
Yes.
You set your boundaries with everybody.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And even when we came home, even though we were gone, we still had to let everybody know, hey, this no, and this is us. This is what we do. And, so everybody kind of figured that out. So so it's telling young people, you got to build your own family. Not, you have family to be there supporting, but in the marriage, you two got to build that and then teach your children out of that relationship that you have built. So your children will know how, if they get married, what to do.
Yes.
And not have everybody because it's going to break up. If everybody put their opinion, that marriage is not going to last. It's not going to last. But you got to have God first.
Yes.
That's the main. If you got God first, you good.
I agree. He come first. In fact, he said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all the things that the nation of the world seek after, they'll be added. He can add that good marriage, good children, good friendship in your marriage, all that. And some people, they haven't been married, but they still seeking friendship.
Yes.
They're still seeking friendship. And so God is able to make that work out.
Yes.
And I appreciate you coming to share
Thank
your journey, your story, and give some teaching, some instruction to our young sisters and those that are newlyweds.
Yes.
And man, I say newlyweds. Some of them been in there for a little bit. I think you put some in there for them too. So I appreciate how God has blessed you to be a military wife, but bless you with spiritual things and spiritual aspects out of that, and cause you to grow. And now you can share with other people and help them to grow in grace. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Mother Reynolds. After this conversation, it's Mother Reynolds now. So appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bless you. And you, my friends and audience, we're glad that you're with us today, and I'm glad that you were able to hear this beautiful conversation from Mother Reynolds. And we invite you to come back next week to Growing in Grace. Like, share, subscribe. This is one that you should really share with your married friends. You got a married sister, you got a newlywed in your life that you know. Share this podcast with them, and we truly believe that you'll be blessed through it. God bless you, and come on back.